Jada Pinkett Smith, Red Carpet Video Analysis. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Many of you find it extremely useful when I analyse photographs and especially videos to help you understand what is going on when seen through the narcissistic lens. It enables you to not only understand precisely what's occurring in relation to the relevant footage, therefore dispelling much of the ignorance that is spouted about certain individuals by people who don't really understand what's going on because they don't understand narcissism, but it also provides you with excellent examples to help you cement in your mind certain aspects, facets and dynamics of narcissism in action. So it's an excellent learning tool. In this video, we're going to look at an analysis of a short video clip recently taken from the Oscars on the red carpet when Will and Jada Pinkett Smith arrive. The purpose of it is to enable you to see how the two of them are behaving and to interpret it to increase your understanding. Essentially, the pair of them are on the red carpet in front of the press pack that's calling out to them, calling their names as lots and lots of photographs are taken, which will be splashed all over publications around the world. In order to understand what's happening, one interprets it through the relevant lens of what the person is. And if you haven't already listened to Will Smith, what is he, and Jada Pinkett Smith, what is she, understand that there is a spoiler just ahead. So if you haven't listened to those and you want to know first what they are, I suggest you go to those videos. If you've already digested that information, or you simply just want to get onto this, then let's proceed. With regard to Will Smith, one interprets his behaviours and the thought processes through his worldview as an empathic individual. There will be times, of course, like anybody finds aspects of their job tedious, and he's been photographed countless times, been on the red carpet many times, but nevertheless, there are two factors which are applicable to his behaviour. First of all, attention is on him, and it's not just narcissists that like attention, non-narcissists like attention as well, and it varies dependent upon the type of person. There are some individuals who find attention embarrassing, but nevertheless would want to receive credit. So, for example, Dora from Accounts, who's done an excellent job with regard to the end-of-year accounts, if that wasn't mentioned when the boss gives his end-of-year speech, she would feel hurt and left out. The fact that he singles her out and says Dora's done an exceptional job, she looks slightly embarrassed and stares at her feet, but inside is pleased that she has been noted and has received praise. People like to receive praise. What she wouldn't want is to be dragged up on the stage, made to give a speech, given a bottle of champagne, and highlighted even further. But she wants the acknowledgement nevertheless. Other individuals would quite happily walk onto that stage, who aren't narcissists, embrace the limelight for a moment, and enjoy the fact that they're being applauded and praised, etc., and then move on. It doesn't define who they are. It doesn't provide validation or fuel in the way that it does for a narcissist, but nevertheless, it is important to them to receive that acknowledgement. People like to be praised. For Will Smith, even though this has happened to him many, many times before, he still enjoys the praise. Also, because of his empathic traits, he recognises, unconsciously, that he has a degree of accountability here. This is the way that it works. He's a movie star, therefore people are interested in him. It goes with the territory of being famous that he has to have his photograph taken. He might find it a little bit boring from time to time, but nevertheless still does it. And in the way that has been explained about how he would give people 90 minutes rather than the allocated hour, he goes out of his way to please because of the type of empath that he is. You'll see in his behaviour that it's a stark contrast to hers in terms of how he walks the red carpet, how he functions and operates upon it. In his mind, this is great, I'm enjoying being here, and this is part and parcel of what needs to be done. What about Jada Pinkett Smith? Well, we know that she's a narcissist, and therefore we look at her behavior through that particular lens. Remember, all human beings can engage in similar behaviors, but the drivers behind those behaviors are different dependent on the type of person that it is. For her, she must be seeking the prime aims. Remember, she doesn't know what she is, and therefore she's unconsciously being driven by her narcissism to seek those prime aims of control, of fuel, character traits, and residual benefits. Not all four are necessarily present at any one time, but control must be, and fuel is invariably not far behind. For her, she will be drinking in the fuel of the attention, but also her narcissism will be sweeping, if you will, monitoring to check if there are any threats to control, operating as this background app. She won't be thinking to herself, is the press pack under control, is Will under control, but her narcissism will be evaluating and watching for that, and then will cause her to behave in a particular way to either maintain that control or, where it's lost, regain it. She will be drinking in the fuel that's provided also. That'll make her feel powerful. And her mind, she'll be thinking to herself, I look fantastic. This dress is amazing. They're here to see me. I am the draw here. Those are the thoughts that her narcissism will be generating based upon the receipt of fuel. So a little glimpse into both their minds there. Now, let's move on to the footage and analyze what goes on. What I'm going to do is play a section of it and then pause and then provide you with the analysis. So you'll be able to watch and make your own mind up about what you're seeing before hearing my expert analysis. Pausing after just 7 seconds, we get an excellent introduction to see the narcissist at work. Watch, or you've seen, Jada Pinkett Smith smiling. Her smile is fixed. It is that rictus grin, which moves from either a toothy rictus grin or a more wan smile of just the lips. But there's no warmth there. There's no warmth in the smile, and especially if you look at her eyes, you will see that there is no warmth to be found. And in those first 7 seconds, as you watch, you'll see her give that rictus grin, and then watch as she turns her head. Her smile just vanishes. It doesn't fade. It's not maintained. It doesn't melt away. It is switched off. It vanishes like that. Why? Her smiling does not come from a position of emotional empathy, genuine warmth, if you will. She will smile as a consequence of 2 things. 1, the receipt of fuel, and she's gaining fuel from the tertiary sources, who are the photographers and press people calling out their names. And she's got the situation under control. They're there to see her, they're taking her picture, they're calling out her name, so there's no control issue. She's in receipt of positive fuel from tertiary sources. Low potency because they're tertiary sources, but a lot of fuel because there's numerous people and they're proximate to her. So calling out to her, the tone in their voice, the look in their eyes, their body language, their facial expressions, all adds up to a lot of fuel for her. So it's all good on the control and fuel front. Therefore, a smile will come from that sensation of power caused by the delivery of that fuel. But also, of course, her narcissism recognizes that the appropriate response in these situations is to provide a smile. But because it's not a genuine smile of warmth, but one that is used for the circumstances and is driven by the sensation of fuel, it comes across as this rictus grin. It's manufactured. If you have not done so, you really must listen to my video, The Imitation Game, because it will help you understand more about the process by which the narcissist goes about portraying the right facial expression, tone, etc., or sometimes where it goes missing, or it's the wrong one, in relation to interpersonal reactions. In essence, her narcissism recognizes this is a situation where one should smile, therefore she does. and it's a fixed grin, almost as if she's been handed it by somebody, puts it on, almost like being handed a picture of a grin, which she holds up in front of her face, and then when it's not needed, it's dropped. And because it isn't natural, it doesn't fade, it doesn't melt away, it just disappears like someone flicking a switch. The cherry picker of her narcissism has gone to that warehouse and has identified the appropriate response for these situations and has given it to her. And it does it quickly. And therefore we see the rictus grin, but then it's switched off in an instant. And that is demonstrative of the fact that it isn't genuine, that it doesn't come from a position of emotional empathy, that there is no warmth involved. And this is an excellent example of the way that the narcissism switches on and off with regard to certain facial expressions and reactions and the compartmentalization that occurs. Halting after 41 seconds, we see that Will Smith is interacting with the press pack. He calls out, and his emotional empathy drives him to undertake that interaction. He's enjoying the attention, and he's giving something back. Contrast that with his wife. She stands there imperiously. Empress Smith, drinking in the fuel, deigning to allow the minions, the underlings, the proles, to bask in her glory. She just stands there, drinking in the fuel. She doesn't feel the need, because she has no sense of accountability and no emotional empathy, to engage. Now, ordinarily, you might think, if you were not understanding narcissism, well, she's just stood there and not saying anything, HG, that isn't a problem. But remember, you're able now to interpret each of her behaviours when she's interacting with other people through that lens of narcissism. And it isn't just a case of she's keeping quiet, but rather, because we know what she is, what's actually happening is that she stands there drinking in all the fuel in an entitled manner. This is my moment. This all is about me. And therefore, although she doesn't know she's drawing in the fuel, unconsciously, her narcissism is revelling in it. She will enjoy the attention, thinking she's just enjoying it, but what it really is the sensation that's generated by the receipt of fuel and the fact that control is being maintained. Her narcissism doesn't determine that she needs to say anything, because the narcissism operates in an economy setting. Why engage with the press pack further when they're doing what she wants? That would be a waste of energy, even though it's only slight, so the narcissism doesn't drive her to do it. The couple are then invited to move along the red carpet. You'll note that Will Smith asks, "Are you okay doing a single?" or words to that effect. And she nods her approval to that. He exhibits his emotional empathy, asking if she wants to do that. The fact that he asks demonstrates that he is under control, and she gives the seal of approval. The Empress gives her approval. Smith heads up the red carpet, and we see again the difference in his behaviour, where he's interacting with the press pack. He's going, "Hey, hey, hey," as he's clearly enjoying what's going on, and he's entertained, and he's interacting with the people that are taking his photograph, and he starts calling out the names of people that he recognises, giving them that recognition. Again, governed by his emotional empathy, which causes him to want to make people feel good.
Hey, David! Yeah! Billy!
We then halt at 1 minute and 18 seconds. At the beginning of this section, Will Smith turns to his wife to see if she wants any help, demonstrating his emotional empathy by caring and signals that he's under control. She pauses, suggesting that the photographers at the front of the line haven't yet finished, but they confirm that they've got it, that they're good, and therefore Smith and his wife come together to allow other photographers to take pictures. More pictures are being taken, more fuel is being provided, more control is being demonstrated towards Jada Pinkett Smith. Again, you will notice the imperious look from her and that smile that lacks warmth. Casting her eye around, looking at the underlings, the little people who are there for her. No warmth being exuded towards them, no need again to interact with them. Will Smith then heads off, leaving her to be pictured alone. Halting again, this time at 1 minute and 58 seconds, we've seen Jada Pinkett Smith being photographed alone. Again, there's confirmation of what she is, as we see the fixed stare, the eyes cold, glacial, looking upon people as she drinks in the fuel from those tertiary sources. The smile is devoid of any warmth again. She barely makes the effort to smile. It comes, it goes, it comes, it goes. She continues to drink in the fuel. There's no issue with regard to control because the tertiary sources that formulate the press pack are taking her photograph. Therefore, they are signalling to her that they're under control. Nobody's asking her to do something silly. Nobody's criticizing her or making a remark that's a criticism or jibing or provocative. They are there just calling her name so she'll turn one way and the other, and therefore the situation is one where she has control and she's drawing in the fuel. But there's no natural warmth from her. She stands there, basking in the glory.
Guys, straight ahead, please. Thank you. All right, let me sit down. Working it out. Guys.
The clip has finished, and Smith goes to rejoin, or rather Jada Pinkett Smith rejoins Will Smith. Now, it's worth pointing out that she will not like the fact that she's having to follow him along the red carpet. She will not like the fact that he's going first because, remember, she has to be the pioneer. She has to be the leader in order to maintain that control. However, when he goes ahead and she has to follow, that is actually a threat to her control. Therefore, what does her narcissism do? Well, it could cause her, through the first assertion of control, to look to assert control over Will Smith directly. For instance, similar to Harry's wife, start pouring at him, grabbing him, utilizing the grip of doom in order to assert that control. But she doesn't. In part because Smith gets away from her pretty quickly, but also the nature of her dress means that moving for her is a little bit awkward. And therefore, she can't use physical control. She could potentially call out to him, Will, wait for me, or Will, come back here. But she doesn't bark any instruction. The difference being that her narcissism maintains a facade to avoid being seen to boss him about. Contrast that with that of Harry's wife. Harry's wife's facade makes it look like she cares by always putting a hand in the middle of Harry's back, steering him, gripping his hand, making remarks, etc. But that's all about control. And as an in-the-know viewer, you now are able to see through that. Jada Pinkett Smith, her narcissism doesn't take her down that route. But of course, she does need to get that control. And the fact is that she is able to do so because, although there is a threat to control posed by Smith walking along the red carpet and essentially leaving her behind, or him leading first, she can't assert control over him directly. She can't do so by calling out to him or making a scene. Her facade management prevents that. There's nobody necessarily stood next to her that she could make a remark to quietly about Smith's behaviour so that the lackey would agree and give her indirect assertion of control. She could, of course, turn to the press pack and say, look at him leaving me behind. But again, the facade on this occasion isn't allowing her to do that. So instead, her narcissism just basically causes her to say, doesn't matter about him, this is my moment now, they're photographing me on my own. And at that point, she has dealt with the threat to control, and Smith, although he's only a few yards away, has in effect fallen off the face of the earth, because he's not on her radar. And who is on her radar? The press pack in front of her. And are they under control? Yes, they are. Smith, of course, comes back up on the radar when she rejoins him, but at that point, the threat posed by him going first has been nullified by her causing it to be jettisoned in her own mind through the third assertion of control. This is repeatedly going on, her narcissism monitoring like a radar, like a background app. Is this person under control? Yes. Is this person under control? Yes. Is this person under control? No. Do something about it. First, second, or third assertion of control. So this provides you with an excellent analysis of understanding how control is asserted, the different ways that are available and the ones that aren't chosen, the impact of the facade upon the assertion of control, the compartmentalization of behaviors, the receipt of fuel, the presence of the rictus grin and how that is formulated, the absence of warmth, the dead stare, and of course the contrast between what drives the behaviors of Will Smith and his wife. Please ensure that you like this video. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. Turn on your notification bell, and remember, this is the place where you get to understand everything about narcissism. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.